It's very, very symbolic that we meet here in the burial grounds of the ancestors of the Volstead people. And they're the original people who were here to sign the treaties, the peace and friendship treaties of this territory. And and the peace and friendship treaties were exactly that. That they were um, about peace and friendship, and there was no surrender of land or resource or territory. And the peace and friendship treaty was based on living with the Allies at the time in peace. So and this land and this air and this water, which was dedicated to share with the people who came across the waters and to live in peace and friendship. And welcome you, Dave.
Thank you, Ron.
This area is very significant to us. This is our burial ground, and in front of us we can see where some of our ancestors are. And so this is the land, the Ekpahak, this area. And this is where we come from. This is the land that we are, and our ancestors, the people that are in front of us, are the spirits that are guiding us, and the reason why we have the peace and friendship agreements. So we welcome David to this ancestral land.
Thank you, Judy. It's an honor to be invited to the old burial ground here, to this place. I've been here before, a long time ago, during the Oka crisis, in solidarity with the people. And it's always been a place of peace. I want to say we've got to start down the road to reconciliation with First Nations in New Brunswick. We've got to start walking that road, and we haven't been. And myself as leader and the Green Party recognize that the peace and friendship treaties signed with the Wabanaki people, the Wolastoqiyik, the Mi'kmaq, the Passamaquoddy, are the basis of our relationship. That's where everything begins. And that's what we have to hold sacred in how we move forward towards reconciliation. However, there's a crying need to educate non-Native peoples, our people in this province, about that treaty relationship, both about the historical relationship and the current relationship, so that we can move forward. So we would launch an education program to do just that. It will take time, it will take patience and understanding, but it absolutely needs to be done so that we can build the awareness and the understanding among our people so we can move forward together and begin the process to reconciliation. My vision is, as part of that we could hold constituent assemblies or gatherings among our peoples to discuss what the treaty relationship is about, what that means to us, and what we all live in this place, and what that would look like if it was fully respected by a provincial government of this province. What would it look like going forward in New Brunswick together in terms of how we worked, how we lived, and how we play in this beautiful place. It's also high time that we have a provincial government that serves as an ally to the province's First Nations. It seems like at every turn, our provincial government has been standing in the way, beating down, siding with Ottawa, going to court against the First Nations of this province. It's shameful. It is shameful. It's got to stop. And if elected MLA, I will continue as an ally, as I have been personally, but in my role as MLA, I will continue as an ally from the floor of the legislature with First Nations in this province, as will our caucus, Should we come into the legislature with other Green MLAs? And we will work across party lines to try and ensure that that is the approach that the future government of this province takes, to be an ally for the first time. For the first time. What a difference that would make. And one of the things as an ally that a provincial government can do, and certainly myself as an MLA and our caucus will be pushing for, is for the federal government to finance Aboriginal language immersion education. It's so important. Everyone knows that if you can't speak your language, then you can't really know your culture in that fundamental way that you only can if through your own language. Those two things are intertwined and bound up in a way that is inseparable. And if you don't have one, the other is not whole. So to us, this is a priority. And as allies, this is something we would push for, federal dollars and any support that a provincial government can give to this, so that young people can learn their language and others can improve or even regain their language. That's vital. And then as Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people, we need to continue to work together, as increasingly we have been, to safeguard all that sustains us, our water, our air, and the land, and all that inhabits it, what I call the commonwealth of life with which we share this land. So we will protect our watersheds. We will set water quality standards. We will ensure that that happens, so that the water remains the way it is, and that's been polluted will be cleaned up. And we will take steps to do our role, to undertake our sort of moral responsibility to address one of the greatest threats that's facing us, and that is the rapidly changing climate. We're facing a climate calamity. None of the other parties are talking about this. First Nations are talking about this. People in the Tim Hortons are talking about this around New Brunswick after Arthur. Farmers are talking about this because of the difficulty they have in getting their hay in now with the weather we're having. So it's time that we tackle that, and we will. We will speak to it, and we will discuss it, and we will come to some resolution about how we need to move forward to reduce our use of fossil fuels, and in a way that's just and fair to the people of this province. So we need to work together to ensure that our children, their children, and their children's children can live well. Can live well. Thank you very much. Most of us are not really well educated about First Nations or the relationship with First Nations, about the treaties that we've signed together, about Aboriginal title, any of these things. And so if we're going to move down the path towards reconciliation, it's important that we're all well informed, that we're aware and educated. And so that's a vital first step that needs to happen with the non-native population in this province, and it's something that a provincial government needs to lead, and something I will push for, because it's difficult to have the kind of conversations we need to have about how the implementation of our treaty relationship looks today if most of our people don't understand the nature of that treaty relationship to begin with. Mm-hmm. And so there's some awareness building, consciousness raising that needs to happen, and then my vision is that we then can sit together in our communities, native and non-native, in constituent assemblies, in some kind of assemblies where these things can be discussed over time in ways that we come to a much greater and deeper understanding of each other and how to move forward together.